No. Jeff, live for you.
And scene.
You don't. Actually, you don't.
Are you sure?
Jay?
I'm
Well,
positive.
they probably, if it's a skeptic, they will be, and if it's a skeptic, they
No.
will be also.
I just needed. So, again, I am so thankful for all of our speakers coming today. And our first one is coming to us from the Monterey County Skeptics. Susan Gerbic is the founder of Guerrilla Skepticism on Wikipedia, GSOW. She is also a Center for Inquiry ambassador, as I mentioned before. She's a fellow of the Committee for Skeptical Inquiry and the winner of CFI's James Randi Foundation Award. Gerbic founded and manages About Time, a nonprofit organization focusing on scientific skepticism and activism, while her particular focus has been on grief vampires, which are also known as psychic mediums. Her activism encompasses all areas of skepticism. Gerbic maintains 2 YouTube channels, Psychics Explained, or as she says on podcasts, Sex Explained, and the About Time project, which features various videos from past conferences. Be looking for this one. Workshops, interviews, and a playlist that explains what goes on behind the scenes with Wikipedia, because it's really secretive and scary. It's not. Now, while Susan does not believe in spirit animal guides, hers is a raccoon. Please welcome my friend, Susan.
Yes,
Thank you, Carol. Thank you, Carolyn. Thank you guys for showing up. This is great. Activism is important, and the first step of activism is showing up. And you guys showed up, so this is fantastic. I really appreciate it. So, I have a lot of little things, projects that I do that I enjoy. And when they said, Susan, you're going to be doing a talk in Lodi, I said, fantastic, how much time do I have? And then they finally told me it was 45 minutes, and I said, all right, so I can really expand on some of the things we've been doing for the About Time project. I have a couple projects that I've been working on, and I'm here to report back to you as if, so you have some information. I think of it as like a give back to the community. You're my peers, and I want to report back to my peers on what we're doing. We are a nonprofit. You can donate to us. We have been funded by the James Randi Educational Foundation, and then I do receive donations from a lot of other places and individuals, as well as the Center for Inquiry has been funding the ability to be able to go to different skeptic camps around the country and be able to afford to come and speak to you guys, even though I live far away. And so I want to tell you about 2 stories, all right? So the stories I'm going to tell are 20 minutes long, so I just want you to know I'm standing in front of you getting your pizza, but we are a little on time. I'm probably not going to do Q&A, and that's because afterwards I'm going to be here and you guys can sit and talk with me to your heart's content afterwards at lunch, and so we won't worry about Q&A. I'm just going to give you information. So the 2 different things I'm going to be talking about are grief vampires, which is what you saw in the syllabus, and then I'm going to be talking about some activism we've been doing with Wikipedia and why Wikipedia is so important to fighting back misinformation. Wikipedia is science communication at its rawest. It is actually where things happen, and I hope to make that argument today, and you will be able to understand that yourselves and say, I get it now. This is why this is so important. And because I'm going to be giving you a lot of content today, I hope I've taken a lot of the weeds out, and it should be very simplistic to follow, but please take photos of my slides so you can go back and look at them later. I will be writing this article up about the conference and all the talks today for Skeptical Inquirer, which is where I publish, and I will be also releasing videos, of course, so you will have information if you want to go back and look at anything I say or anything anybody else says. But we're going to start today with Psychics Explained, the Grief Vampire Edition. This is my YouTube channel, and this is one of the wings that I do, is the world of grief vampires. And I'm not going to go into detail about why, grief vampires, why psychics, and so on, but we're going to move on to this idea of what's been going on. So I have been following the world of mediumship, and as Carolyn said, I'm gonna use the word psychic interchangeably with the word medium. And mediums are people who claim to be able to communicate with dead people. Psychics are people who do a lot of different things, palmistry, tarot, predicting the future, lots of things. Generally, it's known, well, in their world, all mediums, people who claim to be able to communicate with the dead, are psychic. But not all psychics are mediums. That's kind of a way of looking at it. So I'm going to use the words interchangeably, but I'm really talking about people who claim to communicate with the dead. I really, on my YouTube channel, what I do is I get into the weeds, really get into the details of mediumship. I look at videos, I look at readings, I go to readings, people go to readings for me. We put on we put on stings to catch these people. We do all kinds of things in this, and we break down the readings into great detail, actually looking at the words and how they're used to figure out what's going on. Because something is going on. Psychics have been with us for so long. This whole world has been, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. And it influences so many people. Just today, Brian was telling me that his friends stopped believing in the flat earth because a psychic told him to stop believing in the flat earth. I mean, I had not, that was like, okay, I think I've heard everything now. But, I guess that's good. So, what I'm gonna, the reason why I really want to understand what's going on in mediumship. Why is it when no one predicted COVID, no one has predicted anything, plane crashes to tsunamis to everything. And also, no psychic has ever found a missing person or solved a case, actually. They've never done that. And there's thousands and thousands and thousands of people. We were just talking about it last night with genetic genealogy, right? We were talking about how just now science is able to go back and fix a lot of these, find these missing people and understand what's going on. And it has not been that long. Yet, they're still up on Netflix, they're still getting TV, they're still out there, people are still going to getting their information on TikTok or whatever from these psychics. How? Why? What is happening? And I've done a lot of research on this lately because I've been working less with the TV psychics, the Tyler Henrys, the Teresa Caputos, the John Edwards, and I'm really starting to get into the weeds and looking at the mom and pop psychics, which are all women mostly. And what is it they're saying? What's going on? And I think I've got a conclusion that I'm able to get back to you guys, my peers, on what's happening. So I'm going to show you some examples so that you guys can leave today with a little more information about what is going on here. It's not what you think. It really isn't. It's not what you have been led to believe. So I've been calling this lecture, No, Tyler Henry did not tell Ricky Lake her house would burn. And that's what we're going to start is with this one scenario. Okay, so you guys all know that there was these devastating wildfires in LA at the beginning of January, right? No one predicted it, but that's what happened, is there was these awful fires. A couple days after the fire, so do you guys remember who Ricky Lake is? She was a talk show host, she's very popular in her time, probably in the 2000s, something like that. So she was very popular. I even remember there was a Weezer song that talks about Ricky Lake, I remember that. Yeah, you could always go on Ricky Lake. Okay, yeah. So, mine weren't. Anyway, so Ricky Lake, her house burned down during the fire. Just, one of those people who had their houses burned down, and it was awful, just awful. So what happens afterwards, after this fire, and just within a couple days of her fire, is she goes onto Instagram and she makes this post, and I will read it. It's January 11th, so it's just a few days ago. Hello? Come on in. It's a doorbell. What was that?
That's weird.
What was that?
It's a message from Ricky Lake.
Oh, that was Tyler Henry. Thank you. I made that happen with my mind, as my boyfriend would have always said. Okay. So the great Tyler Henry medium. Does anybody know who Tyler Henry is? Everybody know her? Because I'm getting people who say that they don't know who he is. He's a very famous medium. He's very young. He started at 19, and they gave him a show E-Network, I think, or Lifetime, I can't remember, but he was massive, and he does all these celebrity readings, and his gig is that he's very young, and he's innocent, he doesn't know any of these celebrities that he's reading, and so he goes and he gives them readings, and he's on Netflix, he's huge, he's the darling of the psychic world right now. So he's really big, I think he's 26 now, I think so, he's been doing this for a while, so there's no way he can get away with this. I don't know who these celebrities are that I constantly am interviewing all the time. But anyway, so he's a very popular medium right now. And his show is called The Hollywood Medium. Okay, and so he had a show on Netflix, and it was called Live from the Other Side with Tyler Henry. And it happened, I think, like in the August, September, October months. And what he would go is he would go on the show, it would all be dark, and there's a huge audience out there, and then he would walk in, and they'd turn on the lights, and then there would be a celebrity, and they're usually like a celebrity from the past, not somebody who's like currently out there. You're not going to see Lady Gaga or something like that, or you know, Taylor Swift or anything like that. You're going to see people who've been in the past who would love to have their careers back, right? So then the lights come on, and that celebrity's sitting there, and then they have their friends and family sitting there, and Tyler will go for an hour or more and live read them, give them mediumship readings. I have several of them up on my YouTube channel where I've analyzed. So if you find that interesting, you can see me doing more of these kinds of things. So anyway, so Ricky Lake says, 3 months ago on October 15th, 2024, I don't know why it's important, the date, but Ross, that's her husband, and I were on Tyler's show, and guys, he saw the fire. She even has a little fire emoji. The show is on Netflix. I urge you to watch it. Oh my God. Praying for all those impacted by this ongoing nightmare, including my new friend Tyler Henry Medium. Now this is a couple days after her house was burned down, and it's really interesting. What is going on in the psychology of this celebrity person to want to go to Instagram with all the things you must be doing in your life? Your house is just burned down. Everything is gone, and here you are on posting this, and it's just so odd. You know, why would you do that? Now, if Tyler Henry did predict her house would burn down, I have a couple questions. Number one is, why did your stuff go with it? I mean, did you move it all out? I mean, and why didn't you warn other people, and so on? But if he did warn her, if he did say, hey, on live TV, and there's a recording of it, and he said to her, Ricky, your house is going to burn down in a few months. You got to get out of there. And she says, no, I don't think so. It's cool. We'll be fine. No, Ricky, you really need to go. It's going to be this devastating fire in LA. That would be amazing, right? That would be something awesome.
Amazing.
We'd all be like, yeah, let's do this. Let's get psychics everywhere and predict everything for us so we can stop having these disasters and people harmed. So anyway, Ricky Lake made this post, and she put it out there, and she said, this is what's going on. And she, all of a sudden, the Hollywood media starts picking up this story, and they come up with these things. It was big news. And if you read the headline carefully, you will see that they're saying that she said that this happened, not that this happened, that he predicted it. They're saying she said this happened. And so at least they have that right. She did say that he predicted her house would burn down, but it never says, and especially if you read the article, that he did predict her house would burn down. But they picked up the story, and people who are reading this quickly aren't paying a lot of attention, and they would see that it looks like that he saw the fire and that he did predict it. Now, to be honest and to be really upfront with you, Tyler Henry, I haven't seen any Tyler Henry's crew or himself say, I predicted her house would burn down. But I have footage for you, and this is about a minute long. This is from the show that she says October 15th, 2024 on Netflix. I'm going to show you, and I'm glad, as Jay always says, you're all sitting down because you're going to need to be sitting down to watch this. So pay attention and tell me if he says your house will burn down, Ricky, or not.
My bad.
Wait, let me make it a little louder.
Oh, no, it's coming out of wrong speed. Give me just 1 second. Sorry, folks. We unplugged it and plugged it back in, and let's try.
So you can see him sitting on the couch there, and he's talking to her.
Looking to heaven.
I cannot come
comes across. There's this, you need to keep in mind, there might end up being a coincidence where not only do we lose something, and I'm trying to articulate this without like it sounding concerning, I think this may have already happened. If there was a loss of material objects from both fire and water though, that's the kind of weird distinction. It's two separate things.
Okay.
So we're gonna end up finding that there's a story where like, there was a house fire or something along those lines. A fire risk. But there's separate from that, and this is gonna might end up being a little bit more pertinent. We had like a really bad storm and our basement flooded and got a bunch of pictures ruined and we couldn't ever bring them back. There's just something about watching water seepage into a place it shouldn't and damaging them.
Okay.
So keeping both of those things in mind.
Okay, the fire already happened.
Fire already happened.
You don't see another fire.
No.
Malibu.
Yes, oh gosh. I get it. Every 10 years I feel like they get a big one.
Yeah.
But the kind of emphasis here is for some reason on fire and water. We gotta watch it out.
Okay.
So.
And I just ask a quick.
So you guys saw what I saw, and he does not tell her your house will burn down, right? He absolutely does not. In fact, he goes to great lengths to make sure she knows that it's past and this is not gonna happen and something to do with water damage, and he just downplays it. So what is going on? Why would somebody like Ricky Lake, a few days after her house burns down, make this Instagram post and air this? Hey, everybody, go watch my show. Go watch the episode I'm on because Tyler Henry nailed it. What's going on in her brain that made her do something like that? Because it does seem odd. I mean, she's got other things to be doing, and yet she's posting this kind of thing. The burning down, I mean, the episode happened in October, so it was only 3 months before. She surely should have remembered that. I don't know. This is Tyler Henry, and I thought this would be interesting to include as well. This is about a minute long, and it's Tyler Henry fleeing from the fires.
Largely on fire right now, so we got an evacuation warning. There's no power. I don't really have cell service beyond right now where I'm uploading this. But I just want to let everyone know we're okay, we're safe, we're keeping an eye on buildings and how things are going. I really feel for my neighbors, all the pets. It's just devastating beyond words. So it is what it is in this sense. I can only do so much currently. I'm just trying to take it one moment at a time and keep you posted. So I'll let you guys know what there is to return to.
Very interesting. This is the Hollywood medium. He is a big freaking deal. How is it that he didn't see this coming?
Yeah.
Why is he fleeing from a fire if you shouldn't he already have known that he was going to need to be evacuated? And what do you mean he can't help out his friends and family and the neighbors and stuff like that? Well, if you had told us or given us some kind of warning, somebody would have listened. And even if they didn't listen this time, if you had been public about it and saying it's going to happen, then the next time the media would surely pay attention. I'm sorry if I keep talking to anybody named Shirley, but Shirley's in here? Okay. So that is interesting. So that, again, why are... Here they come.
There will be.
There will be a house somewhere on fire. I predict it. So I do write for Skeptical Inquirer, mainly online. I usually write in the online version, which is where you'll find an article about this Lodi Skeptic Camp. And I did write about this. This is your opportunity to take a picture of the screen if you'd like. Turning this into a hit, which would explain the videos that I just showed you. I also have been doing a lot of videos on my YouTube channel, and I'm going to show you one more clip. Now, so maybe this will make a little more sense to you about what is going on. And let's see. So I'm going to set this up. This is a gallery reading happening over Zoom. Multiple people, all women, are on the gallery reading, and they're getting readings from a psychic medium that is called in to do this every so often by this group. Okay, so that's about all of you have to know in that end. So the psychic you're going to see is named Mark Anthony. And Mark Anthony is going to be, he's doing a reading. You're not going to see the sitter. All you're going to do is hear the audio. Now, this is what the woman says. Now, this is written the morning, I assume, after her reading. So here's the reading. And then within not even 24 hours, she's writing a testimonial review to this man. Last night's reading with Mark Anthony was right on the mark. He provides hope and reassurance my son is still there in some form. Mark offered details which I was genuinely surprised about. How could he have known my son's nickname for his girlfriend was Giuseppe? Thank you. Last night was really amazing. I feel a little silly, however. I was truly in shock hearing the name Giuseppe again and then having Mark pick me. So there's a lot going on there. Again, if the psychic is saying to this woman, your son is here, and I picked you out of an audience, virtual, it's gallery, we can't see her. If he does pick her out of the audience and says, your son who's dead had a girlfriend that he nicknamed Giuseppe, that would be pretty amazing. Well, I would consider it hot reading, he just looked her up online, but it would be pretty interesting, right? It would be kind of maybe evidence to look into something. So what is happening? Do you think it happened? What do you guys think? Bunch of skeptics there, my gosh. Okay, so I will play the audio for you, and you will see if this happened or not. It's about a minute.
I keep hearing either Joseph or Giuseppe. Giuseppe's an Italian name, Joseph. Giuseppe. And if Giuseppe makes sense with anyone else, raise your hand. I know we're running short on time, but I'm hearing Giuseppe. Okay, is there a Giuseppe? I know Elizabeth running out of time. I just want to see if there's a Giuseppe.
If there's a Giuseppe, then we need to find out. So anybody who is, isn't that also Pinocchio, Jenna is saying?
That was Geppetto.
So
That was Pinocchio's creator, was Geppetto. But if that is resonating with somebody, that will work.
okay, well, let's see. Robin's saying it's her son's nickname for his girlfriend. And then we also have Petra saying her Papa Joe. So is his real name Giuseppe, Petra? Could you
Let's go back to the nickname. What was the nickname?
Papa Joe.
No, before that. There was boyfriend, girlfriend.
My son's nickname for his girlfriend, I guess, is Giuseppe.
And is the son in spirit?
Is the son in spirit? So let's see. Could you tell us, Robin, if your son is in spirit? Yes, she says yes.
Okay, let's bring them up, because if I'm getting Giuseppe and that was the nickname, that when it's right on point like that, that's it.
That's my expression there. I left it on there because I thought that was kind of telling. So as you can see, he didn't pick her out of the crowd. He didn't select her. That's what she said in her testimonial. And Leonard's taking a picture of my face. Thank you, Leonard. I appreciate that.
The new WTF meme.
I would be okay with that. And he didn't say, you had, Robin, that was her name, had a son who has died. He didn't even know, first off, and that he had a nickname for his girlfriend, and it was Giuseppe. I mean, think about that. Why would, if your child has died, and they're not going to come back and say, hey, I had a nickname for my, that's not how you communicate with your mom, You say, hey, Mom, it's me. And you say your name and all that other stuff. But that was just ridiculous. But do you see how this woman, who is in grief, these people who are going to these mediums and paying the money and going to these events, they're in grief. And they're vulnerable, very vulnerable. And they're almost all women. And almost all of these people are coming from a world where they believe in life after death, because they were conditioned from childhood, babyhood, that there is life after death. So it seems obvious that somebody should be able to communicate with them. And besides, they see all these other people and their peers and things that say, this is the world that we live in, and people, this medium and this psychic told me this, and so on. So this is what's going on. I think that we see this phenomenon with psychics is really all to how the sitter, I call them motivated sitters, is interpreting everything. They're the reason, because they're giving these testimonials constantly, and they're completely misremembering. I don't think they're doing this on purpose. I think they're just misremembering. They don't have audio of the readings. They just do this kind of thing.
I keep hearing.
Okay. So I'm just almost done with this section of my little thing. This is Matt Frazier, and I just want to point out, Matt Frazier is one of the people that I have done a sting on, and I have gone to many of his shows. And last October, we went to Saigon in Vegas, many of us, and while Neil deGrasse Tyson, the astrophysicist who does wonderful talks, is up giving talk, he's giving this brilliant talk I was down at another casino by myself, by the way, and I went and I paid $160 to see Matt Frazier, and I got a VIP ticket. I walked in, and I met him ahead of time. I registered under my name. He knows who I am. And I really made him nervous because I told him who I was and why I was there. And the last time I had any interaction with him, there was a New York Times article out about him. So this man, I think I really messed up his whole weekend. But you can read all about that, read all about it in Skeptical Inquirer, Skeptical Pins and Open Letter to Psychic Media and Matt Frazier. So you can read about that. Also on my website, you can find the New York Times article, and there's an archived version if you don't have a subscription, and you can read about the stings on 2 different psychics, including Matt Frazier. And lastly, on this subject of grief vampires, isn't that great? I know I'm standing between you and food. I'm sorry, but that's just the way it is. So this is banana cream pie. So what I've decided to do is I have a new sting coming out, and it's going to be called Operation Banana Cream Pie. And it will be happening this summer, but you will not hear about it for a while. But I'm happy to talk about it off camera. I can tell you some of the things we're going to be doing, but I do have another sting. And then I just want to plug one more time that my YouTube channel is called Psychics Explain. If you have trouble remembering that, it's Psychic Sex Plane. It's a little easier to maybe remember. But this is just kind of a way of remembering it. But somebody pointed out to me, I started out with Psychics Explain, and somebody said, Susan, do you realize that if you move it, if you punctuate it differently, it'll say that. So maybe it'll help you remember. Okay, so that is my first talk, all right? Do you guys need to stand for a second or no? All right? Everybody's okay? All right. So, I'm switching hats metaphorically. Just imagine that my hat is changing. And we're going to talk about activism, and we're going to talk about the real skeptics on Wikipedia. This is my other project. So I'm known for many things, but Wikipedia is one of the things I'm known for, and grief vampires is another thing I'm known for, and sometimes the rules exist together, but most of the times they're separate from each other. This is the thing where I'm going to pitch a little bit to you. And if you would like to become one of my editors, we are an editing team. We are the only editing team that I know of that trains people. We also have a secret cabal. It's located on Facebook. It's a hidden group you cannot get into unless I let you in. I do all the training. It's over Google Documents, and we use Facebook Messenger, and it takes about 4 months to train. But when you're trained to be one of my guerrilla skeptics, you're well trained and you're able to do some of the things that I'm going to show you right now. And again, I don't want to get into the weeds too much because it's just too strange. Okay, wait. Don't look. Okay, yeah, I guess so. Oh, I thought my slide started somewhere else. Okay, that's fine. We'll just go with it. So this is Jessica Ainscott, and maybe some people remember her. Do you know who she is? She was an Australian wellness warrior. It's been a few years, but she had cancer in the arm. I didn't even know you can get cancer in the arm, but she had cancer in the arm, and she decided she wasn't going to get treatment. They were going to cut her arm off at the shoulder, and she refused to have it happen. She was a very young woman, and she went into Gershon therapy or something like that. And what ends up happening to her is her mother gets breast cancer and also goes into this wellness with her, coffee enemas, all this other stuff. And she had thousands and thousands and thousands of followers, mostly women, who were taking her advice and not getting medicine or whatever was recommended by her doctors. And her mother dies of breast cancer, and then she dies. She only lives to be 29. The reason why I'm talking about her is we wrote this Wikipedia article, and she was, now that I know my slides are wonky, I don't know how that happened, but maybe when I was rearranging things. There is a Netflix show out right now. It's called Apple Vinegar something. Maybe some of you have seen it on Netflix. And so it is following the story of Jessica Ainscott and another woman named Belle Gibson. And what is going on is I apologize if it's a light blue, but that's what the graphs give me. I didn't write these graphs. So what you're looking at here on the screen, this is a graph of how many times the Wikipedia page has been accessed. How many times somebody's gone over and clicked on it. We don't know how long they stay. or if it's the same person that goes there repeatedly. All we know is that there's been interest. And if you can see, the first empty line there, that's the Wikipedia page when we created it, and this is actually the last 90 days, I think. I think that's what it is. Yeah. So it's just been a while, and you can see that she's gone on with absolutely no interest in her at all. It's just nobody's looked at the Wikipedia page. She's died. It's old news. You guys didn't even really remember her. And then the Netflix show comes out, and you can see how the spikes hit. See all these spikes up here? And that's because the Netflix show has renewed an interest in who this person is. And thankfully, they found, when they went to it, a Wikipedia page that was carefully written with good citations, notable secondary sources, as we should. And you can see this is what it's been like in the last just very short amount of time. And for those of you who can't read the small print, in the last 30 days, when I made this slide, which is about a week ago, there's been over 1 million views to her Wikipedia article. That's a lot of views. Now this is the other woman, and this is a woman who's also Australian, who is a contemporary of Jessica. She was famous at about the same time. Her name is Belle Gibson. Anybody heard that name? So she was famous for saying she had cancer, all kinds of cancers. And she collected millions of dollars from her fans and stuff, and she didn't have cancer. And that is the person that the show is actually, is her story. So if you watch that Netflix thing, it's out right now, it's very current. So this is a Wikipedia article that we did not write, but what you're looking at here is what a Wikipedia page would look like whenever we've written it, with an alternative medicine sidebar. Because we know most people don't go to the Wikipedia page and read the whole thing. They just glance over it, get the information they want, and they leave. So in Belle's case, in the last 90 days, you can see the views, that it was almost nothing, and then the Netflix drama comes out, and it's gotten over 6 million page views in the last 90 days. That's a lot of views. A lot of people going, what? Who? What? You know, they see this on Netflix, and they don't really know what to expect, and so they go and find out some more information. So it's very important that the information that's on the Wikipedia page is great. It's got to be well-written, interesting, no gossip, no pseudoscience, but it says the facts without a lot of drama or anything of the sort, with great citations that they can find if they look at the bottom of the article. And so what you're seeing right here, again, I'm sorry that the graph is so light colored. There's a blue line at the bottom, there's a light green at the top. You can kind of see that. But this is Belle Gibson and this is Jessica Ainscott together, their views. And on this slide, it might make a little more sense. What you're seeing here is spikes, and they're difficult to see in here. These are all kinds of little spikes. And what you're seeing is they're about a week apart. And the reason why you're seeing these week apart spikes is because every week the Netflix drama would upload a new episode. So every time they uploaded an episode, you can see that people go, what is this? And they go and they get their information to see what might be on there. So you can see this is proof that Jessica Ainscott and Belle Gibson's spikes are together. So they're going from one page to another kind of thing. So they're able to see one and then the other. So this is just more evidence of how Wikipedia is, how the media drives people to go to Wikipedia articles to get information about topics, people, places, and things. So they need to be able to find places that are in really good shape. So what this number here is for me to talk to you just briefly about what our current numbers are. I'm going to pull out my piece of paper here. So my Wikipedia editing team is made up, there's about 100 of us, and some are more active than others, and we are all well-trained, and they edit as they see fit whenever they have time. We have created a lot of Wikipedia articles. Most are in English, but about 40%, 45% of the work that we do is in languages outside of English, because we think it's so important to make sure that everybody worldwide can read about what they want to read without having the barrier of language. They can read it in the language they want. So about 45% of the work we do is in languages outside of English. And what we have is we keep track of all the articles we write. Not every edit we make, because we make edits on pages all the time. But we have to have a way of knowing if you're successful, if you've been active. if there's any activism involved at all. So we keep track by knowing how many articles we've written. And as of this morning, we've written 2,245 Wikipedia pages. And like I said, about 45% of that is in languages outside of English. And of those 2,245 articles, we're able to see how many times somebody has clicked on that article. So this is a way of knowing if we've had any kind of activism or anything of the sort. And as of this morning, those 2,245 Wikipedia pages have been viewed 192,728,946 times. So 192 million people have clicked on the work that my editors have done, people I have trained, which is amazing because I'm a baby photographer by trade. I am not a scientist. I am not a tech guru. But they have done that, and it's freaking amazing because what we find is people are quoting our work exactly. They're going in and they're taking the words that my editors have written, and they're putting it out in their TikToks to combat pseudoscience. They're putting it in journals and articles. We know they're copying us, just copying it and putting it out there, and millions and millions and millions of more people are getting our information. Not only are children all over the globe plagiarizing our information in their articles. And you know, if they're going to do that, let's give them the best stuff we can possibly give them with well cited and so on. So my editing team, if you would like to join it, I'm happy to talk to you about it. And there are some stickers and things in the back, and we can talk about what it is, why we do the things we do. The question I get most often that I know you're all sitting there asking and you would love to ask me is it, what happens whenever somebody says, you know, you put up this information, how it's going to be combated, people are going to go after it and they're going to revert it. And that really doesn't happen as much as you would think. Most pages that are contentious are locked to people, just the average person coming in and editing it. So we really don't have as much as you would think. We really don't. So I guess that concludes my slides. There's like 6 slides missing, but that's okay. That's fine. You guys look like you're hungry. But so you can get more information about what we do on abouttimeproject.org. You can follow me on social media. I'm on all the social medias, and as well as on this abouttimeproject.org website. If you scroll down a little bit, you'll see all the skeptic camps across the United States and some in Canada that we're holding, like this one. And that way, if you happen to be in that area, or you have family that's in that area, and you think you might want to go visit those people at that time, or if you have other areas that you think, like Modesto probably should have a skeptic camp, and some of these other things, I'll be happy to help work with you to arrange these. And if you have any kind of questions, I'll be here all afternoon, and I don't know, I guess I got some time, so if you have questions, let me know.
That's right. So yeah, we got about 20 minutes. I should just want to start over again and just run
I
through
mean, I
all
can
of
go
it.
back and I can show you more readings.
So yeah, so Susan's got some time for questions. Can I just get a show of hands how many people have a question for Susan?
Make one up, come on.
Or you can make one up.
Jay.
We got one,
Sure, I can
maybe
make one
two,
up.
3-ish. All right, cool. Let's start with Carolyn.
Okay, so for the people who are not aware of your work, can you tell us a little bit more about your stings? 'Cause
She's got it written down. Oh, she's awesome. This girl is organized. Okay, go ahead.
Your stings, like the Operation Pizza Roll and stuff like that, because I know you've been mentioned in the New York Times for these stings. So if you could just give us, for the people who haven't heard of it before, a quick little.
Okay, anybody here not heard of the stings that I've done?
I have a follow-up question. Are they always
Sure.
named after food?
Yeah. So my boyfriend, Mark Edward, who died in August, he was the one who always named all of the stings. And there's a long story behind it that I'm sure it'll bore you to pieces why we do this, but it's important that it's hilarious to see the media have to go on and they have to, when they report, and they're sitting there saying, well, Operation Banana Cream Pie, Operation Peach Pit, Operation, so we pick things that are ridiculous, and I want to make sure they can all be spelled, and so if somebody just hears about it, they can go, oh, what was that thing again? Oh, look that up, and you can Google it, and you'll find it. So there's reasons behind it, and the more ridiculous it is, the better. The other thing I did with the New York Times is we went and did a sting on a psychic in LA. We set up fake Facebook pages with a fake backstory. And then we had somebody else running the fake Facebook stories, which had fake dead people and everything on it, and fake things happening. And so my boyfriend and I went to see the medium, and we paid for VIP tickets. You always have to pay for the VIP tickets. And we didn't know what was on those Facebook pages other than like a couple things. Because I have to know when you're sitting in an audience like you guys are. And so when the medium's up on the stage, like I am, and says, I'm getting a young man who died, he's a twin, he wants to talk to his sister. I have to be in the audience to know to raise my hand, because otherwise I'm just sitting there not knowing anything about what's on the Facebook page. So I raise my hand, and the psychic continues reading me. And I'm sitting there pretending to cry with the Kleenex and all that. And then he reads my boyfriend next to me, and all that. All he's reading is what's on the Facebook pages. And we're recording, so we have all of that. So that's Operation Pizza Roll. And then the New York Times, we were working with this guy who said, if you ever catch somebody who's hot reading, that's called hot reading, when you know ahead of time some information about a person. If you ever catch anybody hot reading, I want to do an article for the New York Times. I'm like, oh yeah, hell yeah. So he put that sting on, but what we didn't know is that the reporter, the New York Times and some of these other, they want to sit in on it. They want to watch it. So I had to do a second sting, because the reporter said, okay, you've got our interest, the editors want to do it, this is great, but we need to see it from the beginning to the end. How do you plan it? What is it you do? What are the steps? And so I said, all right, I'll do another one. And then I did Operation Peach Pit, and that was with Matt Frazier, the guy you saw on the stage. That's why he was so nervous when I got up and I bought a $160 ticket to go in before the event and talk to him and say, hey, it's me, Susan Gerbic. You didn't see me coming, huh? You know? Remember me from the New York Times article? And he's like, you know, oh. And then I'm like, yeah, we're here to see you. We want to see how you're doing. So, and then I went and sat into the audience in the front, almost front row, with a big red notebook, and I sat there and took notes the whole time. And he was thinking that the New York Times is there somewhere, and of course he's not really psychic, so he doesn't know where we are. So he had a problem, and I said, we'll see you tomorrow, because we're here 2 days. I didn't go the next day, and I was there by myself, but he doesn't know it, because again, he's not psychic. So that's kind of the gist of the New York Times article. You can read that. As I said, I have an archived version. Thank you for Carolyn for your question.
Back here, Brian.
Oh yeah, I noticed when you were talking about Bell Gibson and mentioning alternative medicine, as well as talking about the psychics, you mentioned both times that a lot of main audiences of the demographics are women.
Yes.
Why is that a big thing?
That's a fascinating question. I think that somebody out there who wants to do a PhD on it should get that, because I'm fascinated by that question. The flat earth, 9/11 conspiracies, UFOs, it's very male.
Yep.
Almost all male. But the wellness, psychics, almost entirely female. And I'm not exactly sure. I asked a flat earther that I was telling you I talked to at the LA Skeptic Camp, who's no longer a flat earther. He was one of the most prominent flat earth people for 10 years. And then he went to the Antarctic for the final experiment, saw the 24-hour sun, came back home and said, I guess I've been wrong all this time. And it's been fascinating listening to him and how he's changed his mind and how he's still evolving his mind change, because he still doesn't believe that we went to the moon, and he's still kind of anti-vax, but he's already saying, I'm willing to change my mind, and he's trying to reason himself out of it. He's gotten himself into a hole, one of the most prominent flat earthers. But I asked him, I asked him that same question about why is the flat earth full of women? And he gave me a really fascinating answer. It's on video. You can find it on the About Time YouTube channel. And he basically says because a lot of the men in the flat earth community are not used to dealing with women. He was very derogatory what he said about men. It was very sad. I love men. I've birthed 2 of them. I love them. Some of my favorite people are men. But he was very derogatory, saying these people don't interact with women very often, so when a woman comes along, even if they're supportive of the flat earth, they're not they're not okay with that. They're able to put the women down, they're very mean, they call them also awful things. And they're able to say, I'm superior to you, you don't know what the heck you're talking about, shut up and sit down kind of thing. So he says, I think there's more to it than that, but he's saying that's what's going on in the flat earth and the UFO community, why it's so male dominated, because anytime a woman steps up, they shut her down. She don't know what she's talking about. Why does women go to the psychics? It's almost all women. I don't know. I guess it has something to do with spirituality, emotions. They're okay with crying in front of everybody. They're more open to this. They're more religious because this is all religion. But actually the UFO community is very religious, but it's not the God that you know. That's become a religion, the whole thing. So thank you for your question. I don't have a great answer.
You have one? And then
I
we'll go to
do.
Jay has one.
So I loved your stuff on Tyler Henry. And I loved your point about, why didn't he tell people that this was coming, right? That this fire was coming.
Right, and I guess you got an answer.
But no, it begged a question for me though. So is it possible that he is in fact psychic and saw this coming, but he's just a colossal asshole?
Well, I was wondering about that. I kind of wonder about that, but I was wondering about, if you look in the car, if you saw the video, in the background, there's not like piled up with stuff. You think I've got some foreknowledge, I think that I'm gonna be evacuated, let's get all these boxes in here and my art, because I think he collects art. You would think that all this valuable stuff would be in there, and I'm thinking, he's already got it removed. It's already in storage in some fire safe area somewhere else. I think that's what he did, is he moved everything out, and then just for TV reasons, he went. I think he planned this whole thing by Tyler Henry's. Yeah, I think he probably had her house burned down, and, I think.
Are you saying he burned her house down?
Space lasers probably could have done that.
Are you suggesting he burned her house down?
He had people burn them down, yeah. I'm saying that here publicly, thank you. I'm not to be sued, I have insurance for that. Jolene, you said you had a question?
Yeah, about the guy who went to Antarctica, flat earth and everything. I have heard about that, and I didn't look into it heavily, but one of my first thoughts about that was this gentleman kind of in it for a free trip to Antarctica?
Great question, and I get it.
Find flat earth enough, will somebody take me?
No, actually, no. In fact, several of the flat earthers turned down the money. It was $35,000. They raised it online. A pastor in Colorado raised the money to send one flat earther to the Antarctic because Paul?
Sorry, to jump in. The pastor in Colorado paid for one flat earther and one globe person. He personally paid for them.
He personally paid for him.
And then everybody else.
And then they had to crowdsource all the rest of the people going. So it was four flat earthers, and this cracks me up. They call it globers. We're globers because we believe in the globe. I mean, yes.
Wait, so if I say I'm a flat earther, I can go to Antarctica for free?
Yeah, wait, you know what? You guys have been in the wrong business. I think it's over. So what it was, it's called The Final Experiment. You can find it on YouTube. It is huge, and it was happening in December.
Stupid, I've been saving.
So they went down there, they paid $35,000 to fly them down there, and it was a huge thing. They didn't think it would happen because a lot of these flat earthers don't believe you can go to Antarctica. And they think some of them don't even think it exists. And they think there's this giant ice wall, and it's crazy the stuff that they thought. But it's so interesting listening to this man come out of it, and it's like, wow, yeah, out of it. He's there in Antarctica. They live streamed in Antarctica. They live streamed this, and people now are losing their mind. A lot of them are out of flat earth, and a lot of them have tripled down on it, and they really believe it even more. Because the whole idea was you will not see the 24-hour sun in the sky. And they got there, and sure enough, the sun is there 24 hours. They filmed it from billions of angles. So, I don't know how that works.
Have any of these people actually seen the edge of their flat earth? Is there...
No, because it's covered with an ice wall.
Susan, can you repeat the question?
Oh, she asked, has anybody seen the edges of the flat earth? And I said, you can't see the edge of the flat earth because it's covered with ice. Oh, the cat would not get up.
The ice wall is too tall.
The ice wall is very tall, it's very hard to see. They make excuses, actually what happens, they don't even, sometimes they make excuses, they're not good excuses, but they just make fun of us and they don't listen to the argument. If you listen to the videos, there's 2 videos out by this flat earther. One is on my channel, it's a YouTube channel, you can message me if you can't find it. And he did a lecture in March, just a few weeks ago. And that is the first time he's really spoken out about what was going on. It's fascinating listening to it. And then he just did a talk for Skeptical Inquirer with our dear friend Rob Palmer on YouTube. It's the Center for Inquiry channel, and that's only been out 3 or 4 days. The interview is so interesting, and you'll get so much knowledge about why people believe these things and what's going on. But he was a flat earther for 10 years. So if you want a free trip to the Antarctic, you gotta be in on it for a long time. Yeah, so that was his whole life. Really into it.
I think we may have time for one more question.
Nobody has any questions.
All right.
I answered them all.
Another round of applause for Susan Gerbic.